Halfway through the regular season of the NFRN Amateur Cup Series, the chance to get a spot in the playoffs is growing slimmer by the second. But at this very fast 2-mile race course down here in Texas, anyone has a shot to find their way in. Here at Zandt Superspeedway in Canton, Texas, this is the Texas 300. Hello again, everybody. My name is Colin Denton on the call today for NFRN and RVN. This is the 7th race of the NFRN Amateur Cup Series season. We have 5 different winners. Chris Harley, last race at Pig Speed Dome, took home his 2nd win of the season. He's the first driver this season across all 3 series to earn 2 victories within the same series, which has also opened up a playoff spot to someone with points. Now we've got a tight competition at that points cutoff line. Connor Mays, Noah Kim, Kenny Knox, Robert Harrison, all drivers that have a chance to earn that spot, but of course they've also got the opportunity to get a win. Can they do it here today in the hot heat of Texas and this very fast racetrack? We take a look at the part-time race from earlier today to pit the truck drivers against each other to see who would qualify for this 7th race of the Amateur Cup Series season. Clint McComb, the current point leader, gets out to an early lead, 3 wide going down into turn 3. Very aggressive racing. McComb would eventually slip all the way back to the rear of the field, but using that inside line makes a nice gain on the final few laps. Finds his way back up to the front and is eventually going to take the victory. His 2nd straight win in the heat race to qualify for the Amateur Cup race. So ultimately it will be McComb as well as Billy Thompson, Kevin Knight, Taylor the Pig, Barry Watson, and James Smith who will make today's Amateur Cup Series race at Zandt. Dalton Wise and Hunter Cox, just a couple of drivers that are some of those just short of making the field here today. And before we get going green, we give a nod to our hot seat winner of the week, Chris Harley, once again. 2 wins over the past 4 weeks will help you do that, as well as a runner-up finish at Grand Detour 8 Bowl, really the only outlier here. And he's been the only hot seat winner we've had in the Amateur Cup Series so far this season. Going to see if he can keep up that momentum and find another victory here at Zandt. That's going to do it for our pre-race coverage. Let's take you down and get the command for today's race.
Please welcome your Grand Marshal, founder of Overton's, Parker Overton.
Drivers, start your engines.
The engines are cranked, and now we turn our attention to how the drivers will line up for today's race. Starting on the front row, Griffin Lynn with the new sponsor Credit One Bank on his number 36 Chevrolet Camaro starts on the pole for the first time. Donnie Moore, the Columbia winner, in the number 50 Fender Toyota Camry, starting on the outside. In row number 2, Taylor the Pig, who made his NACS debut last race to a solid finish, starts in spot 3. In spot 4, Austin Rogers, who only has 1 top 5 finish this season. In row number 3, Kenny Knox had a poor pit strategy at Pig Speed Dome, looking to get the points position for the playoffs. Ray Chapman looking for his first top 10 on the outside. Row number 4 has Chase Baldwin, the Eagle Motorsport driver, starting right behind his teammate Kyle Bichelia, a best finish of 15th so far this season. In row number 5, AJ Jones has some momentum. He has 2 top 10s in a row heading into today's race. Ryan Kendall led the first practice. He'll start in place number 10. In row number 6, we have a pair of part-timers, Kevin Knight and James Smith. Jay Jefferson, one of 2 Texas drivers today, starts off row number 7 alongside Jack Freeman, who needs another finish like Columbia if he wants to turn his season around. Alexander Rowe, currently 28th in points, starts off row 8. Connor Mays, on his outside, leads the non-winning drivers in points for the spare playoff spot. In row number 9, we have 19 car fan, 2 top 10s on the season, needs some consistency, and Kyle Law, who made an Elite Cup Series start earlier this season, currently 30th in points. And finally, in row number 10, Justin Roadback led the final practice. After a last place finish last week, Eric Van Arsdale, the veteran driver, rounds out the top 20. So not a lot of race winners up here in the top 20 of the starting grid. Obviously, Donnie Moore on the outside of the front row, but a big opportunity for drivers who haven't grabbed a victory so far this season to get one today. Now, this is a restrictor plate racetrack, draft dependent, could see a lot of turnover. You never know if someone who's already won, like Chris Harley here in row number 16, could pop up and grab another victory. But we'll have to see. There's obviously way more drivers that haven't won a race so far this season than those that have. This could be another opportunity to get into the playoffs and compete for a championship in this NFRN Amateur Cup Series. 6 races in so far, 5 different winners. Who's going to be out on top today? Griffin Lynn, Donnie Moore going to lead the field around turn number 4. They're going to see the green flag early on the front stretch. And there it is, green flag flying here at Van Zandt. The inside line gets going a lot quicker than the outside line gets going. Something you would expect to see on this racetrack. Draft's going to make a big difference, though, as we see Griffin Lynn looking like he's going to hold the lead on this first lap. You got the Eagle Motorsport drivers, 2 and 3 behind him. The 76 is going to follow the 36 and get back to the inside line. Now you got both of those teammates just about locked onto each other, trying to see if they can get a draft and head up toward the lead. Kenny Knox fell just a little bit behind after a poor performance at Pig Speedome, but Chase Baldwin's been playing keep up all season long. Grabbed the top 10 in his home state at 8 Bowl, but he's still looking for a lot more points. He just barely is staying out of the last place spot in the full-time standings. Now he's running up here with a top 5. With his teammate, we got a spinner, and that's the points leader, Chris Harley, going around on the front stretch. So we don't even make it 2 laps before we hit our first caution. The 49 car has gone around, and it looks like the field has taken the caution flag. Doesn't look like Harley's got too much damage on that race car. He might be able to continue. We'll have to take a look at the replay to see exactly what happened, but good thing for Harley is that he is looking like he's locked into the playoffs with his 2 victories, and being the points leader, going to have a lot of ground to lose to get out of that spot. Griffin Lynn leading on this first caution. The Eagle Motorsport drivers both behind him, followed by a couple of part-timers. Word on the radio is no one's looking to take pit stops this time around, except maybe for some of these drivers. As we look on the replay, and it looks like the 95 might have come up a little bit on the 12, and Harley's the one on the outside. So it's possible the 95 forces the 12 upward into the 49, and it looks like Harley's going to be the one that takes the main blow in terms of getting spun around. A little bit of damage might be on the way for the 95 and the 12. Robert Harrison trying to take evasive action. Looks like he'll be successful. 3-car incident, 1 car spinning around is the 49 of Chris Harley. He'll take a 360, he'll drive it away, and it looks like all of the damage that was incurred on this accident is pretty minor. Hopefully we'll see all of those guys continuing to run. But on these tight corners, it's going to be pretty tough for these guys to stay off of each other. We ride on the helmet cam of Chris Harley, our hot seat. Just never saw it coming. He's going to be on the bad side of this one. Just a few laps completed here at Van Zandt Superspeedway.
The NASCAR Ride-Along program puts you in the action.
Leçon 3. Écoutez et répétez. La femme mange 2 poissons à la plage.
La femme mange 2 poissons à la plage.
Bon.
What did we just say?
The woman eats 2 fish at the beach.
NASCAR on ESPN. Come along for the ride.
Okay, whatever.
The heat is hot down here in Texas, but it looks like everyone's trying to stay out and extend their fuel and tires for as long as they can. in this relatively short race, this track 2 miles long, only 38 circuits around the track. We'll see if the field's able to stay on for as long as they can. Maybe we'll get another caution that lets others come back down and try to take some different pit strategies. Green flag is back out on lap number 7. Griffin Lynn continues to lead the field after getting the pole. He's starting to get a little breakaway with the 76 of Kenny Knox, trying to see if he can fight his way back into the points position that was acquired by Connor Mays. The 84 car, now the driver that has the position that would advance to the playoffs if the season were to end today, because Chris Harley won a second race. Obviously, 12 races in the regular season would allow for 12 different winners, but because Harley took away one of those spots, that opens up a spot on points alone. Connor Mays currently holds that spot. Running mid-pack, not looking too good for him in terms of getting the victory today, but a long race ahead. Just in front of him, Noah Kim, also in that competition. He's currently running 4th in the point standings, riding on 2 top 5s in a row, a best of 4th at 8 pole. Grabbed a 5th place as well at Pig Speed Dome, and trying to see if he can stay in front of the 84 car, maybe work together with him, just see if those guys can get it ahead. You never know how this points competition is going to go, but obviously I think the 84 might want to get away from the 38 in a positive direction, as we see now the 35 car has made his way to the front. Now he's got at least 1 lap led. He'll get a bonus point, which is definitely going to be critical for him in terms of trying to get back into a competitive state. Just behind him, he's got a couple of part-timers as well. Kevin Knight's making his 3rd straight start after missing the first 4 races of the Amateur Cup Series. Taylor the Pig trying to make the move to the inside for 2nd place. He got a 6th place run in his Amateur Cup Series debut last week, and now he is showing a lot of momentum again. He hasn't even earned a top 10 in the Truck Series, which is obviously the series that he's competing in a championship for. Now he's looking to make a move for the lead. The 05 on the inside of the 35. And he is looking to get to the point with help from the inside line, led by Alexander Rowe, and a 19 car fan. And now we're on the hot seat with Chris Harley, and you can see, looks like that spin had a little bit more impact on him than he would have liked to see, because now he has fallen away from the draft and currently running last place on the board. So now he's just trying to ride around, hoping that these guys will crash again, and he might be able to pick up a few positions, but really not going well for the 49 car right now, because it looks like the spin definitely caused him a little bit more damage aerodynamically than he can keep up with the rest of this pack. Robert Harrison was back there. He avoided that accident, and he's had a great last few races. 4 top 10s in the past 5 races. Currently 37th, though, at the moment. When I look at his stats, he's kind of had the same effect that Jet Krause is having in the Elite Cup Series. He's either running top 10s or he's getting DNFs, and that's been the case for him so far this season. Alexander Rowe led that lap, but now in the 97 car, looking to the inside. That 97 is slowly creeping up the point standings. He's actually doing pretty well for himself. 12th place in the point standings. If he has a good run today, he might be able to extend himself in terms of trying to make an Elite Cup Series race. I believe he wasn't even able to attempt the first race of the season due to his result. And last race he had an attempt to make, but on the road course it was really difficult for him to make the race because he was so far back in the field on his starting position. He might have a better shot at it this time around. 12 laps in the books. 19 car fan holding the lead right now, but he's got challengers in the field.
At Peak, we're the independent guys, running a family-owned business. Nothing like big oil. where American-made quality and value go into good, honest oil, with everything your engine needs to run right for the long haul. And what gets our motor going is using 65 years of experience in hot and cold protection to give you what's right for your engine and your wallet. Because we're car guys, like you. Peak. Run true.
Donnie Moore made the move to try to pass up 19 car fan for the lead. He led that lap, but as you can see, the charge on his inside has come in very quickly. Moore's looking for a great finish after having a pretty subpar season after getting the win at Columbia. 16.6 is his average finish. He'd like to find the top 10 once again. Keep himself up in points. Try to contend for some more Elite Cup Series races. He's made quite a few, but hasn't found a ton of success in there either. Might just be the state of where his team is running right now, as they all try to contend for a playoff spot. Ray Chapman now in the lead. We see on board John Gilbert, race number 4 winner at Grand Detour. He's stuck on the outside line and pretty far back in the field. Good for him that his place in the playoffs is secured. Points are obviously going to be something to be concerned about all the way around the season until you get to the playoffs. You're worried about every single driver on the circuit until you get to the round of 12. Then you only got to deal with 11 other guys. Now we got Justin Roadback out front. Finished last place in a very disappointing finish at Pig Speedome. Mechanical failure dropping him out, a blown piston. A very rare sight to see. Just any mechanical failures don't seem to happen in this league very often, but the 5 car suffered one last week. Looking on board Sparky as he tries to help James Smith get to the front. They're making a move to the inside of Ryan Kendall. 56 had a solid weekend so far. He led the first practice. Now he's up here in this front part of the field, as now both of the lines going down the backstretch trying to battle each other while the 5 car continues to put laps led on the board. James Smith goes up and tries to draft with Roadback. And he's going to try to hold the line, but he cannot do that as the 1 car gets the inside trying to battle with the 5 for the lead. We take a look at Ryan Kendall, who's kind of running mid-pack this season. Most of his finishes coming between 12th and 20th place. He finally found some speed here at Van Zandt, trying to see if he can take advantage of this restrictor plate race to grab his first victory, or just get at least a decent finish, try to contend in the point standings. We're just about at the halfway point of the race. We'll be back after our final commercial break.
Race car drivers must concentrate in the loudest conditions.
You got that right.
So to perform your best, we need to simulate that loudness.
So not the airport, no, the bowling alley. Get web speed. Says ice fishing more than terrorist. And mowing the prom and a karate gig.
Carl goes to great lengths to be his best. And a big part of his training is eating right. Like with his favorite sweet onion chicken teriyaki made with spinach, green peppers, and black olives.
Subway, the official training restaurant of Carl Edwards and athletes everywhere.
We are back at Van Zandt to see who's going to be the next driver to become a winner in the NFRN Amateur Cup Series. We'll look at our Texas drivers and an update on their running positions. Jay Jefferson, TJ Ball, both having some pretty subpar days today. 27th and 40th, but they're all still running in the lead pack, which is pretty much everyone except for Chris Harley. We're still waiting for the pit strategy that's going to impact this race. Obviously, they're going to have to make at least one stop. Considering they've made it halfway, they can make it to the end after they make their single stop. It's a matter of who's going to take it when. Joey Radcliffe's found his way to the front, but Eric Van Arsdale follows him. Both looking for some solid days today. Craig Martin, kind of like 19 car fan, he's been pretty under the radar. Doesn't look like he's ever been in a position to contend for a win, but he's slowly gaining himself up in points. Dwayne Calloway on the outside at 3 wide. He is not in a good spot. He's still side by side with Donnie Moore going into turn 3. He's in a very precarious position as a lot of cars are going to have the opportunity to pass him up if he can't get down right here. And still in a 3 wide spot. I think the 97 finally let him in. Tight area for Dwayne Calloway to be in. We see Kenny Knox now, as we mentioned earlier, he had a very bad day at Pig Speedome. 36th place was his final finishing position, 16th place right now. But you can see that inside line with a ton of momentum through turns 1 and 2. This is exactly the kind of run he wants to have late in this race as they approach pit stops. The further up he can get, the less traffic he's going to have to deal with. So he's in a pretty solid position as we see. Got a lead change right now. Clint McComb finds his way to the front. He was the pole sitter last week as a part-timer in his debut race, but he fell all the way back to 41st after problems on pit lane, as well as just dropping back to the field with just a seeming lack of speed. He leads that lap, but quickly Craig Martin finds his way to the point. Connor Mays trying to challenge for that spot. He's got his teammate behind him, Ray Chapman. So just as Eagle Motorsport tried to take advantage as a tandem, now you got the Coco Racing teammates up here. Craig Martin's going to shut the door, though. The 82 is going to lead this lap. Will the 84 try to make a move at the last second? Draft with the teammate. Yeah, he'll pull down right here. They're going to try to see if they can make a move. Up here we got Colin Lindsay now. Top 5 in his position right now. And he was having a very solid run going for him. Finally found his way back into the Elite Cup Series part-time position. He was 15th in the points after 8 Bowl. Wasn't able to make that race, then had a terrible run at Pig Speedome that puts him back to 27 points. Now we see Connor Mays has made his move to the front. And that's going to be a bonus point for him. Currently leading the non-winners in the points. He's got his bonus point on top of whatever finishing position he can manage now. Now the teammate, Ray Chapman, going to see if he can lead a lap of his own and grab a bonus point. AJ Jones down here in this bottom lane. Jones Smith Racing leading the team standings at the moment, and Jones has been a big factor in that. He's having a pretty good momentum boost, at least in these recent races. 6th place and 4th place his past 2 races. Couple of top 10s, never too bad for a driver that's looking to get his way into the playoffs. And how about this, Jack Freeman? He's all the way up into 3rd place and challenging Colin Lindsay for 2nd. Going to see if he can try to challenge Ray Chapman for the lead. We mentioned how bad his finishes were going last week. That went from 3 to 4 races where he's finished 33rd or worse after another dismal race at Pig Speedome. Now the field's catching up to the slow car of Chris Harley, but we see Andy Coleman on, well, semi on the apron. He's looking like he's ducking down the pit. And behind him he's got here's Robin Alonso, Dwayne Calloway. Someone got slowed up, and I believe that's Jay Jefferson. And he was running in his home state today, and now he's losing the pack. Got held up by the cars that were looking to make the move to the inside and didn't go with them, which might have been a mental mistake on his part. When you get slowed up like that, you might as well make the move to the pit stops, but I guess the team was not prepared for it. So the 3 is going to have to cycle at least one more time. We see Calloway pull into his stall. He's got the win on the season so far. The other 2 drivers that came in with him, Coleman and Alonso, do not. We're going to see a few more drivers come in here, while several others do not. So we've got strategy all across the board. But we did see Calloway did not take tires. It looks like everyone's going to go on the same set that they have now. Jack Freeman making his way in. He's going to need a good stop here to have a great finish today and try to make his way back up the point standings. He had a 3rd place finish in the Elite Cup Series race at Peg's Cliff, and he has not been able to make another start since. Can he find that momentum and make his way back up here? Maybe get a win. Kenny Knox making his way down. He'll follow Anthony Lopez, who led that lap. Looks like we got Chapman, Borland, and Knight still out there, as well as Jason Thales. Griffin Lynn, the pole sitter, also going to stay out there. 76 had a great starting spot. He'll be further down the pit lane. I'm going to get the quick stop on fuel. A few others making their stop. Donnie Moore and Taylor the Pig go by. Austin Rogers already in his box. Kenny Knox pulls out. Anthony Lopez going to beat him out, though. This is really going to split up the big pack that we've been running with this entire race. As Ray Chapman makes his way down. Looks like these are the final few cars that need to make their stops. We've got 9 laps to go in this one. We'll see how the field cycles through. As the 25 seeking out his first victory. Trying to see if he can make himself the 6th different winner of the Amateur Cup Series. Pole sitter Lynn is in. But he came in a lot further behind the rest of these guys that did pit right here. So it doesn't look like the pole sitter is going to have a chance at this one. As Chapman pulls away, this is Anthony Lopez. He's kind of distanced himself from the rest of the drivers behind him. Going to see where he stacks up in this lineup. He passes Thales, passes Knight. And on board Chris Harley, who seems like he's actually doing pretty well on speed. He just needed to get back into a draft. Clint McComb coming through, squeezing the gap as Shane Borland trying to merge back on the racetrack and trying to get around Chris Harley, now a lap down. 54 looking for a lot of speed right here. And now might get a little advantage from Chapman still trying to get up to speed. And Lopez getting trapped behind him. And now the 54 finding his way to the front. And he's got Jack Freeman behind him as well as Colin Lindsay. You've got a driver that's had a dismal season. A driver that's a veteran looking for his first victory of the season. Kenny Knox also trying to get back into this conversation as well. He pulls up alongside Chris Harley and gets into this lead pack. Knox is trying to fight his way back into the points position, but he could grab a victory right here if he could. He's certainly in contention right now if these guys all running right alongside each other. Also up in this pack, you got AJ Jones and you got Chapman. Lopez just behind them. It looks like it's going to come down to these 7 cars. You might have Al Calloway back there in the rear of the picture. And actually, you got a few other guys that are trying to draft up and trying to catch this pack. See if they can make a run for it. Connor Mays is a part of that pack as well. But we got a slow car coming up right here. I believe that's Billy Thompson in number 2. Not sure why he's going so slow, but he's going a lot slower than the rest of the field. And he's going to be a speed bump on this pack. And Kenny Knox getting held up a ton. 76 loses all that speed. And now we've got a few breakaways at the front. Now you got both the Monster Energy cars out in front. Clint McComb leading the way. Colin Lindsay just behind. And those 2 cars are all alone out front. Jack Freeman and AJ Jones battling for position right here. But they're also not in the pack. They'd have a lot better run for themselves if they're able to get into a draft. And Billy Thompson still holding up the rest of the field. Anthony Lopez and Dwayne Calloway out here trying to get back up to the pace. And the 2 car blocking the 75. And this is a huge disappointment for Lopez. As he's going to see Callaway, Harrison, Law all make their way to the inside. There's Martin, Sparky. So many cars going by the 75, and he can't find a lane. Don't know why he's not trying to go to the outside, but so many positions lost for the 75. This is a gigantic disappointment. As Thompson just barely creeping around, and still the 75 can't find a line. Colin Lindsay trying to see if he can make a move on Clint McComb and find his victory that would get him into the playoffs. It was disappointing to see that he had to drop down to this series after coming runner-up in the Elite Cup Series Championship last season, but he hasn't had much success down here either. And a victory would mean something huge for him. But you gotta remember, he was a part of that first accident of the day, and he might have a little damage because of the contact with Chris Harley and Andy Coleman. You take a look at the replay right here. That is not a minuscule hit. That could have a little bit of an impact on the straight line speed of the 95. If he's going to draft his way and slingshot past the 54, he's going to have to time it perfectly. He does not have the help of a driver behind him. If there was a third car in this pack, he would possibly be able to help the 95 make a move. But because he's running just in tandem with the 54, he's going to have to work his way around him. We saw the 13 and the 4 battling for position. It's possible that he could draft up and make a move, but he's got to time it perfectly because he has the damage that could slow him down a little bit. At the moment, though, they are the only 2 cars that look like they have a chance at this point, unless a caution comes out. Which, honestly, the caution would finish off this race, so it's really coming down to these 2 alone. They've gapped the field by a few seconds. And in fact, I believe Freeman and Jones have fallen back into a pack with the rest of the drivers, but Clint McComb trying to hold his own. He's got the 95 behind him. McComb is making his second Amateur Cup Series start. Last race he had the pole and lost it all. Could he go to victory lane today? White flag out at Van Zandt. The 95 has seemingly had nothing for the 54 at this point. As they're coming through turns 1 and 2, Lindsay's realistically only going to have one more shot at this. He's got to make a move. Down here at the backstretch, he looked a little inside, but I don't think he looks like he has the speed. And he is not close enough to make the move here. He would have to try a different line at this point, but he doesn't have the time. They're going so fast, and they are coming down to the home stretch. Clint McComb won at Twin Ring Motegi. He found his way into this series, and now he takes a victory today at Van Zandt. Giant win for Clint McComb, your Texas 300 winner, just a few weeks after winning at Twin Ring Motegi, locking himself into the playoffs. Now he's got a victory at the next level. Big redemption for what happened last time, and he's definitely going to remember this victory. So while it's a big victory for Clint McComb, it's a gigantic disappointment for Colin Lindsay. The veteran driver trying to see if he can get himself into the playoffs. He'll have to settle for second. That accident at the start of the race, the contact, the tiny contact, might have been the factor that kept him out of victory lane. Couldn't find the speed when he needed it most. How about Kenny Knox and Connor Mays? 2 guys neck and neck to get the points position to make the playoffs on points. In fact, because McComb won the race as a part-timer, a second spot in the playoff standings just opened up for points. Those 2 guys could be a part of it. We'll check the standings to make sure, but big performances put up by those 2 drivers. Also great runs by Andy Coleman, Ray Chapman. Both drivers getting their first top 10s of the season. When you're talking about the points competition, Noah Kim, Robert Harrison, Craig Martin, all having solid days today, 11th, 15th, and 17th, respectively. TJ Ball, the Texas native, wheels it home to a 22nd place finish, a solid outing for the 62 driver. Anthony Lopez had a great run going for himself and then got held up by Billy Thompson in the 2 and falls all the way back to 24th place, a gigantic disappointment. 19-car fan James Smith, Taylor the Pig, Kevin Knight, all drivers that we saw out front at some point in this race, they all fall all the way back here in the 30s. Surprising finishes by those guys. Chris Harley fell a lap down after having the damage. Jave Jefferson had a little trouble after pit stops that he falls all the way back to 40th in his home state. Alexander Rowe also with problems, and Billy Thompson obviously running slow. He'll fall into last place. So we take a look at how the standings look after this one, and Chris Harley's gigantic lead in the points dwindles all the way down 3 points. Connor Mays still holding that top spot in the non-winners category. Noah Kim's got the second spot that now opens up because of McComb's win. Kenny Knox, though, still 3 points behind. He's got a realistic chance to catch up to him. AJ Jones also there, 10 points behind Knox. We'll move back here to where the cutoff is to try to qualify for the Elite Cup Series race later today. And you can see 19-car fan holds the 14th spot over Sergio Alvin Alonso, and he will try to qualify for a race here at Van Zandt in the Elite Cup Series. Colin Lindsay makes a great jump in points, starting in 27th and making it all the way to 16th today. Shane Borland also with a nice jump. TJ Smith falls all the way back to 19th after a poor outing. Back here in the 20s, you see a couple of drivers that have made starts in the Elite Cup Series. Just a few races ago, Ryan Kendall and Jay Jefferson both made Green Valley, but they have fallen off a little bit since that race. And back here at the final part of the full-timer standings, you can see Justin Roback no longer last in the full-timer standings. Chase Baldwin, despite leading a lap earlier this race, didn't have the finish to back it up. He falls back into 37th. So we look at the playoff picture as it stands now. Chris Harley still leading the way of the 5 winners so far this season in championship contention. The 2 drivers currently in the open spots are Connor Mays and Noah Kim, with a few drivers just closely following behind. Craig Martin with a decent gap over the current cutoff driver Eric Van Arsdale, who has the tiebreaker over Jake Thomas. That is obviously going to change as we still have 5 races left in the regular season. A quick look at how the team standings are impacted, and Coco Racing makes the jump with Connor Mays and Bray Chapman both getting top 10s today. Ramco Motorsports also jumps over Jones Smith Racing, even though Jones got a top 10 today. And as we take a look at the cars that the Amateur Cup Series drivers will be running in part-time for the Cup Series race here today, you'll see not too many different drivers and different numbers. The only new number you'll see on the field today, Eric Van Arsdale in the 15 for the first time. So intense battles leads to great racing, and Clint McComb able to take the victory over Colin Lindsay, his second in the NFRN and his first in the Amateur Cup Series. We hope you all enjoyed today's race, and we'll see you for the next Amateur Cup Series broadcast at Bump Draft and Superspeedway.